Hello and welcome back to the Boxing Social podcast in association with Betfred. With me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. Delighted to be joined here today. I was expecting to be joined by a world champion by this time of 2021, but maybe in a few weeks' time I'm joined by the source, Lawrence Okolie. How are you, Lawrence?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you for having me. And don't worry, I'll be making that dream come true in a few weeks, so it's all good.
My dream or your dream?
I mean, you're the one that said you would like to have me on the show as a world champion, and you know, it's all good. It's everyone's dream, hopefully. It
certainly is. It's always good for British boxing to have another world champion. You do fight for the WBO cruiserweight title, finally, all being well, touch wood, against Krzyzstof Glowacki in a couple of weeks' time. It's a couple of weeks' time. It's a few weeks' time from now. Start off with the boring, mundane questions. How are you getting on with camp, mate?
Very well. But in all seriousness, now camp's going good, you know. I'm already in like good shape, do you know what I mean? Sparring 12 rounds, like I don't obviously too much into camp stuff, but yeah, like I feel good physically. I've obviously stayed in shape during lockdown as much as I could, and then had the training camp for the December fight, and then you know, just carried on, and now we're here, so I've just built camp on camp, so I feel good.
Obviously not ideal, the fact that you didn't box for the world title on the Joshua Pulev undercard. You ended up boxing Nikodem Krzyzstof, dispatching of him in a couple of rounds. I think, although it wasn't the fight that you wanted, I think in the current climate, the opportunity to get that run out a couple of months before you're actually fighting for the world title is invaluable.
I think so as well. You know, obviously I believed in my fitness and stuff, and I'm still quite young, so ring rust and stuff I don't think affects, like, you know, you when you're younger as much as maybe when you're older. So I was confident regardless, but it was good to, you know, make the weight again and, you know, get a run out and you know, see the stuff that me and Shane have been working on. So it's all good. And then now, if anything, like the sparring, you know, I've, you know, training for a southpaw, although switching back to an orthodox fight is never a problem. Now, you know, built on that camp, so I've got some guys who came in late are now here from early, so we're mixing it up a lot, do you know what I mean?
Talk to us about your sparring. Now, I did an interview with Shane, and you had a very interesting sparring partner, a certain former amateur rival of Mr. Anthony Joshua had in camp.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
He's not been in yet. I think if he's
had him in the first camp.
The first camp, yeah. So that was good. Obviously, he's a big, strong heavyweight, and he comes to give it, and that's him. He says, you know, he's like, I want you to learn, and for you to learn, I have to hit you. So, do you know what I mean? That was good. That was valuable experience, you know. It'd be good to get him in. It's obviously when you're dealing with that kind of style, you don't want it in for too long of camp because obviously you have risk of like knocks and stuff like that. So a couple of weeks of that will be, you know, good. Just the last bit of conditioning, and just in case Glowacki decides to come with all action, brawling style. I doubt, but you never know. And yeah, but I mean, the sparring partners I've got in now, you know, that everyone's good, everyone's coming. Yesterday I sparred 12 rounds, there's 4 of them, and yeah, everyone came for it. You know, obviously I think I did the same thing on the Friday last week, and I left feeling great. Oh, guys, yeah. Jab was working well, did whatever. Then Monday, 12 again, and everyone came for it with different kind of energy. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if they're trying to get their own back from the Friday, but yeah, everyone was up for it. And it's weird, like a couple of the sparring partners that I have, yeah, like one of them is a younger, 2 of them are younger, obviously. They're called the Tuma brothers, and I want to be the first one to shout them out as a professional. I need to, like, but them 2 are, if they can keep up the same kind of progression and stuff like that, they're going to be epic. Especially, okay, now let me not say especially, but the younger one, because he's younger, it's a little bit more like exciting. There's one, he's just turned 16, and he gives me some of the hardest sparring I've had in my life, as in like, it's 3-4 rounds, whatever, but it's like, as I'm in there, I'm not like Lawrence Okolie sparring a 16-year-old, like moving him around. I'm Lawrence Okolie going all in, like I have to, like I want to, I have to. Do you know what I mean? So that's good sparring. And obviously his older brother Carol, he's a light heavyweight, so it's good for the speed, and he's also someone that commits 100%. Then I've got in a guy called Shukran. He's like a German, like I think he lives in Germany, but I think he's from, I don't want to get it wrong, so I won't say, but he's from somewhere else. He's a cruiserweight, southpaw, really good, really skillful. and then we've got Thomas Carter, who's a heavyweight that's looking to turn pro out of Ireland. So I've got a good mix. Everyone's really ambitious. Everyone's really up for it. So every day I'm sparring this. There's no easy days. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's good. So by the time it comes to the fight, I know I've rambled on, but by the time it comes to the fight, I'll be firing.
You don't ever have to apologise for rambling on. This is a podcast. It's absolutely supposed to be like that. Obviously, knowing Shane and kind of the way Shane works, I know that he likes a live spar. He likes all of the spars to be intense, and that's the way to work. And have you felt the kind of the additional bullseye on the back now? You're coming into world titles. You're almost there, or I'd assume you've probably always had something of a target on your back when it comes to sparring.
Oh, as in terms of sparring. Oh yeah, well now he's obviously introduced £500 like I don't know what you want to call it, bonus or whatever. If any of them are able to drop me, I haven't paid anyone, and I don't.
Who pays that? Him or you?
I'll be paying it, obviously. Do you know what I mean? And the first thing he told me before sparring one day, Lawrence, I'm telling everyone today, 500 quid if they can drop you, everyone. Do you know what I mean? Even if they drop you twice, it's £1,000 or whatever. And he's like, and you're paying it. I said, I won't be giving anyone any money. Tell them. Do you know what I mean? So it's good. Obviously, it adds a good bit of spite. Of course, everyone will say they don't want it, but you can feel the difference in the spars. If they catch you with a little jab, they're following up. Do you know what I mean? So it's good. Obviously, the realism. It's a balance. You obviously don't want to burn yourself out in sparring and stuff like that, or take too many shots, or whatever. But ultimately, that's why I'm so calm when I'm in my fights or before my fights. It's just like, I've done this. Like, are you nervous about world title? No, I fight every day, or however many times in the gym, and it's a good way to build up experience.
Let's just head back and talk about Mihai Nistor, who was obviously the man who came in to help you with sparring, stopped Anthony Joshua once upon a time a few years ago in the amateurs. First question I have really is, how did that go down with AJ? What was his thoughts on you getting Mihai Nistor in for sparring?
Went down well. I mean, obviously they helped with it as well. It's just ultimately, that was him as an amateur, and it was part of his learning, and it's part of my learning to help me win a world title, which benefits not just me but also AJ 258. So by any means in it, we're gonna get it.
I'm always curious to speak to yourself and Josh and all of the other guys at 258 about Anthony Joshua's involvement in your career. I know it's something we've spoken about previously when you were first coming through. We spoke about it around the Isaac Chamberlain fight, which of course was the first time you topped a bill, and you said he was very, very hands-on. How's he been in preparation and build up to your first world title fight?
It's been, I wouldn't say as hands-on, obviously, because I'm a lot more experienced myself now, and I'm like just doing my thing. So it's anytime I need advice, I shoot him a message, or we have like group chats and stuff, and it's other stuff. It's the little messages like, yeah, mate, it's just a start and blah blah blah. Do you know? So it's not necessarily, he can't give me a game plan. That's Shane's job or whatever. It's more so the commercial side, or just the mindset side. So it's been good.
How do you feel you've developed since you turned over? I'm not necessarily just talking about as a professional fighter, but as a person. How are you different now compared to the Lawrence Okolie that came out of the Olympics?
I'm not sure. It's hard to say. I think I have to ask other people. But for me, maybe a bit more confidence. I remember, early days seeing fighters at the top thinking, oh, like, not yet, or whatever. Where now there's no fighters that I'm really like worried about getting in the ring with. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you got a world title fight, no problem. European, whatever. So I feel that maybe confidence, and more so belief in my fitness, and and other stuff. Like obviously as an amateur, you're just sparring 3-4 rounds, 6 rounds max. Now it's like any day I could wake up and do 10 rounds or whatever. So just I think a bit more confidence.
Do you think can you pinpoint any in particular moment in time that gave you that additional bit, or a significant moment in your career which made you more confident?
What made me confident? I'm not really sure. I've always been quite confident, but I think just once I started getting up to the 10 rounds, beating Chamberlain and Matty Askin, because those are fights I believed I'd beat Chamberlain, like I knew whatever. But with Matty Askin, as much as I was confident, I was very much like, 12 rounds for the first time, and he's like a top 10 fighter, and Wembley? Wembley and all the other stuff. Do you know what I mean? So that one there, obviously, despite the fight being boring or whatever, it was a good win for me. Like I felt really like fit and strong for the rounds. So after that, it was just like, you know what, let's just push. So I think those ones.
We spoke in the past about both the Isaac Chamberlain fights and the Matty Askin fights. You mentioned there, the Matty Askin fight was not a good fight by your own admission. How much did you learn from them? How difficult was it to handle that criticism at such an early stage of your boxing career in general? Even as an amateur, you weren't somebody who had 150 amateur fights. Everything come very quick to you. You headlined the bill after, 10 fights? 10 fights or something like that? And as you mentioned, the Askin fight and such a big performance. How did that affect you at that time, and what did you learn from it?
It didn't. Personally, it didn't actually affect me that much. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those ones where most of it was comments or whatever, so I just don't read through everything, and I just kind of just got on with it. And the thing is with me is that I'm always realistic with myself in terms of my performances or how I think I'll get on with this fighter or that fighter. And for me, it's more so, okay, hold on, how did the fight go? Okay, it went this way, I won, but this happened in the Chamberlain fight. Okay, interesting. Chamberlain's scared or whatever. Then when it happened again in the Askin fight, I had to sort of look into myself and say, okay, why? And then get into the realities, or what do I need to work on? So it's one thing to be criticised when it's like unjust or anything like that. It's another thing to be criticised when I'm also criticising myself. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it didn't really affect me negatively. More so, it was more like, you know what, I actually do need to work on X, Y, Z. And even now, I'm still working on it. Do you know what I mean? Some habits are harder to get rid of than others, but it's all about making the progression.
You've always been, self-aware is a very good term. I think I've used that to describe you several times in the past. You're always very honest with yourself and where you need to go. Always a very healthy position for life, not just being a boxer. With that being said, one of the things that I'm always talking to Shane about is your potential. How far into your potential, how far have you still got to go? How much do you think you've still got to go?
Still, obviously, I think everyone says it, but I've still got a lot to go, a lot to learn. There's mistakes that I make that I still realise now in sparring, on the pads, position, stuff like that. So there's a lot, but I think a lot of that will come with more experience, more camps, more fights. I mean, I think this would be like my 41st fight, or as in from amateur to pro. So I don't like, holding on to that, or say, oh my God, I've had such little experience. But the reality is I've had 47 fights. So every time I go out, every camp is an opportunity to build, every fight is another opportunity. So I feel there's a lot to gain in terms of experience, in terms of technique and, positions and stuff like that. So there's a lot. Obviously, it's about how much work I put in now, but I feel like there's a good potential.
Do you feel like you get enough credit for what you've achieved in such a short space of time? You can be honest.
I feel like after I win this fight, I'll see what the temperature is like. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll answer. As of right now, do you know what I mean? I've won, these titles, but it's not a world title's like, okay, this is like forever. Of course, European, whatever it is, but a world title is like, you've hit the pinnacle of the sport. Of course, there's more like unifications and whatever else. But after I win this fight, it'll be interesting to see what the reactions like. Do you know what I mean? As of right now, in terms of credit, it's shifting, obviously, with better performances and working with Shane and stuff, but ultimately the most important thing is winning. Do you know what I mean? So after I've won this fight, I've won all of the domestic titles and then a world title. So I expect to be spoken to with an element of respect, but we'll see.
Well, I would hope that people speak to you with an element of respect now anyway. Talk to me about Shane McGuigan. Obviously somebody I know very well for a period of time. I think it's pretty evident to see the development and the improvements that you've made under him, none more so than in your last fight. Just talk to me about the period of time that you've spent with Shane from the start.
Yeah, it's just been good. I just think, obviously, like I said, he's a confident and articulate man, do you know what I mean? Young as well, so like there's certain stuff that I can say to him that he'll understand where maybe an older coach might not understand, or certain mindsets or certain motivations of mine, do you know what I mean? Like as much as I love boxing and the feel of winning, I have other, like, I'm not going to go into just in case, but I have other motivations and stuff that help me with training, do you know what I'm saying? And he's able to understand those and use those when it's time to, and whatever else. So I think he's not only is a world-class trainer, but he understands me as a person or me as a fighter, or both, whatever. So that helps. It goes a long way when the days are hard or boring or repetitive, or I've had a good sparring day or not such a good sparring day or whatever. So I think, yeah, it's been good. Him and all the boys are quite funny as well, so that always helps in the gym when you can have a laugh. I can be myself as well, so it's all good.
Was that something that was kind of immediate? Obviously, the guys, they do have a very unique kind of bond together. It is very much a family at McGuigan's gym. Did you feel that straight away coming in? Was there a kind of a bedding in process? I mean, I guess there always is.
Yeah, I think obviously there'll be a bedding in process, but as in I needed to bed in, they didn't need to bed in. I think from day one it was, oh mate, Lawrence holding and this and just like obviously as I said, I'm quite okay with that stuff. But if I wasn't, it would be like from day one, it's like, yeah, Lawrence, like we're gonna make sure that you don't hold or like just little jokes or whatever. They didn't hold back from day one. Do you know what I mean? But it was good, obviously, and it helps as well with breaking certain habits when you're going to be laughed at for it. So you don't want to be laughed at every day in the gym. It's one thing, on social media, but it's another thing in real life where it's like, mate, shit. Do you know what I mean? So it's good.
One of the things I'd like to talk to you about, it's not massively common to have two fighters who are in the same weight class. Admittedly, you're further along in your career than Chris BILLAM-SMITH, obviously Commonwealth champion, who's going to be boxing for the British, hopefully sometime soon. Talk to me about your relationship with Chris, because you've sparred a lot of rounds with him. You're both in and around the same division. Obviously, must be such a benefit to have somebody like that within the camp with you. But has it ever, not necessarily awkward moments, because I know that Chris is a very nice, normal guy. But what's it been like to have him with you in camp? Yeah,
it's been nothing but good for me. Like, obviously, I'm not really friends with people in boxing, and especially in my weight. But he's someone that I've become friendly with. Like, he's cool. He's like, and I think me and him are both realistic, as the fact that we won't fight each other and stuff like that. So it's not like a he's trying to go extra hard in sparring to prove anything, or I'm doing the same. It's literally trying to learn. I'd like to see him beat everyone else in the cruiserweight division, so it's good, I think. And also to have someone in-house that's, always up for a spar and stuff like that is always positive. And for him as well, good, you get coming from. So we're both benefiting off of each other. He's definitely, really sharp and really, really active as well, which helps me as well. So we're both able to help each other. So ultimately, for me, I see it as a good thing.
Is there any spar or fight, amateur or pro, that you can look at and say, okay, I learned the most from that? Or any in particular fighter?
As in that I've been in the ring with, personally. I think probably the James Branch fight as an amateur was one of them. I boxed a guy called James Branch. He's a pro now. I'm not sure if he's still going or not. But that one was like the derby. Like, we both at the same club, and then I moved, and then we were both in different parts of, we're both in the same part of like London, and that was a big rivalry. And I remember he beat me on like a split the first year, and it was such a high intensity, as in all my friends were there, and there was a backstory and all that stuff. And I remember spending the whole year afterwards, and I broke my hand sparring Dylan White, maybe 7, not too far distance away, so my hand was still injured. And I remember like, okay, ABAs is here, you don't really need to go in it because of your hand. But I realised me and James would be the only ones in that part of London, so I was like, I'm gonna risk it. Like, yeah. And then obviously winning that fight there was part of helping me get onto the GB team. So that was probably one of the ones that, so now when I have rivalries and this, that and other, I've already been through it as an amateur, so I'm a lot like, and generally at that point, that was like the be all and end all. So that also helped me to realise, you know what, you build up to stuff, then it comes, it goes, and then you're on to the next one. So that's why I'm never really nervous or too caught up on like what belt this is or what fighter that is. It's just, you know what, do all your training on the 20th of, March, I'm going to fight. God willing, I'm going to win, and then the 21st will come, and then the dust will settle, and we'll see what's what.
What is it about you that seems to produce rivalries? I mean, obviously the fact that you're from London, and you've also kind of had Isaac Chamberlain, obviously Richard Riakporhe coming up behind you as well, both from London. So inevitably there's going to be some rivalries there. You seem to, I don't know, attract it, Lawrence. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to say jealousy is a really, really dangerous thing. Do you know what I mean? Jealousy. But you know what? It is what it is. Ultimately, like, I've always been a very confident and outspoken about it, and also like not really afraid to take fights. I think people for a long time, even now, still you say rep pause and so on and so forth. In my mind, like I'm on a level and I'm on a journey and I'm pushing. Like from when I first turned pro, I said world titles is all gonna happen. So other people will be looking at him like, he's not even that good, like blah, whatever, and they'll believe we're on the same level. So when you think you're on the same level with someone, you think you're a rival. But for me, I think I'm so past them. So you know, I think that creates a level of who does he think he is, jealousy, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind a rival here and there, but ultimately, do you know what I mean? As long as, you know, I stick to just boxing and not letting it get too personal, it's all good.
Going back to the amateurs, how disappointed were you with the Olympics?
I wasn't very disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the things that has helped me as a pro is the fact I wasn't so disappointed as an amateur. And I said I'll never let that happen to me again, because I remember qualifying for the Olympics, and I felt like I'd done it. Yes, pro contract is secured. They're gonna know my name. Do you know what I mean? And then I'll just go in and, you know, like try to get a gold or whatever. But my main thing was getting to Olympics and being an Olympian, as opposed to like having the mindset of I need to go and win a gold. Of course, I trained for it, but it was never really like, okay, like, do you know what I mean? Lasered in. So, you know, I remember like reflecting after the Olympics and stuff and saying, you know what, you know, I think obviously the excuse of, you know, I only had 20 something fights and I wasn't meant to be there, and I managed to get there. But I said, as a pro, there's none of that allowed. Do you know what I mean? Like every fight, okay, I've headlined the O2 before my time. Doesn't matter. Get it done well. British title early. Get it done well. European. Do you know what I mean? So same with this one. And then where I came up short as an Olympian, I need to now make it up as a grown man. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it.
Seems like you have a very, like this, it's kind of been a recurring theme from what we've spoken about here about, you know, pushing yourself fast, but also understanding that nothing is ever really going to be perfect. You're always going to have bumps in the road and learning from that. It seems to be kind of a theme that's continued or started when you certainly turned over as a pro, but obviously you're back as the amateurs. Would that be fair to say? Yeah,
definitely. But I think that's part of what helps drive me and motivates me to get up and go for a run or spar this person's spot. Because I set myself such big targets and goals, and they're obviously now it's achievable, but back then I couldn't see how, but I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So, you know, when it was the days, like now I'm here, I'm in this shape, I'm ready for a fight, for a world title, it's like I need to thank myself for all the runs I did back when I was 18, 19, all the times I went to the gym and lifted weights, the times I said no to drinking alcohol and so on and so forth. So now when it gets to here, I'm ready for it, do you know what I mean? So definitely the quick pace is a recurring theme, but it's one that helps me, do you know what I mean? Because I think if I went slower or didn't have the fights I had, I don't think I'd be in the position I am, A, and B, I wouldn't be the fighter that I am now as well, do you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have had the eyes at fight and, you know, dealt with the pressure of headlining at O2 or boxing at Wembley against Askin, or now when it comes to European title fight, the O2, it's like, okay, I've been in big fights before, don't worry, just go and do it. Or boxing, the last one at the chief support to AJ with millions of people watching and knowing that if I'm able to win this, I have a world title shot next, and just dealing with it all. So I think it's all helpful.
You mentioned Dillian Whyte. Those Dillian Whyte spars obviously reared its head a couple of years ago. When there was some talk between yourself and Dillian on Twitter. Talk to me about those spars.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, obviously it was years ago now, so it's hard to kind of take from that. But as in, I was an amateur at the time. I remember seeing him at Wagamama's, and then I was with someone, I can't remember who, and then I see him there, and I was like, oh, that's that boxer. So I went over and just, you know, kind of sat down on their table, like, and they must have thought, what's he doing? Like, do I want a picture? And I was like, oh, no, I'm a amateur boxer, but I've sparred AJ and whatever else. If you need some sparring, like, take my number and get at me. And then obviously I'm quite tall, so I think they were boxing someone tall, so they asked me to come down. I went down a few times, you know, they kept asking me to come back. Unfortunately, I broke my hand in one of the spars, as I alluded to earlier. But yeah, that was all good, do you know what I mean? And he's gone on to do some great things, and, you know, I'm on my way to, I've gone on to do some pretty good things as well, and some great things coming up.
You think you'll fight him as a professional?
Maybe.
Yeah, moving on. Arislandi Savant, best fighter you've ever been in the ring with?
Oh yeah. Hard to say. In a competitive fight, yeah, I think so, definitely. It's hard to gauge, obviously, because I was younger and a little bit less experienced. But definitely, you know, I think I watched that fight back, or the fight where I got stopped back maybe a week or two ago. Just like, what was I actually doing? You know what I mean?
What was that like?
Yeah, no, it's calm. Obviously, I've watched it before. It's not. It's like none of that stuff really affects me. Do you know what I mean? It's the reality of fighting sometimes. So that was good. And I remember even back to that thing, I think after I got stopped, went to the changing room, showered up and came straight back out. Like, I wasn't really ashamed or nothing. It was just like, okay, cool, what did I do? What did he do? How was that? Is he that good? Am I that not good? Or what? That, do you know what I mean? And obviously I grew from there. That was probably, I still, the James, I'd still give that one. That fight was just more so, it showed me that I actually want to be a boxer, because before that, boxing had been so easy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just like beating everyone and getting to the Olympics and this and that. So that was always good as a reality check. Hold on a minute, you need to train properly because there's good guys out there. Do you know what I mean? But that was good. He's definitely experience. You know, the Cuban style and whatever else, but it was good.
Comes from a rich history as well. I mean, he's from the name Savant rings out in amateur boxing, not just in Cuba but around the world. Do you allow yourself to think about life as a heavyweight in the future? Probably do when you're trying to make weight, but
yeah, definitely. But yeah, definitely. I can't see like why not really. I'm 28 now, so it's like anything should really go. Obviously, my main aim is winning this next fight, and then from there I'll be able to, you know what? Yes. No, I think it puts me in a better position to kind of, if I want to go to heavyweight, I can, or the other one, bridgerweight or whatever. So I'm easy.
You can't go to bridgerweight. You make the heavyweight pay packets.
No, but you know, then you go up as a 2-time world champion. So you're getting coming from, that's the aim. You've got to think. just all it is about is the ring entrance. You know what I mean, undefeated, this, that, whatever. So
former cruiserweight world champion, former bridgerweight world champion.
Yeah, that's it.
Talking about walking to the ring, what have you got planned for March the 20th? Because we've already heard all of your rap tunes that will be coming out. Shane was playing them months and months ago. What have you got planned? You don't have to give too much away, but you got something special planned?
No, not special. Just me. Obviously, I'm not going to perform it, but my song will be playing probably in the background. I'm not sure which one yet. But that's fun. You know what I mean? You might as well have a good time while you're here and boxing for world titles. Because for me, the way I always see it is, whatever happens, you know what I mean, I'm young right now, and you know what I mean, boxing for world title, so I just got to enjoy it as much as I can, because ultimately winning and losing hurts as much no matter what you've done before or after. So when people trash talk and they lose, it shouldn't hurt them more than if they were really respectful and lost because you lost, or vice versa with winning. So for me, I'm just going to have as much fun as I can, just as a person, and then, you know, train hard as well and win fights.
Was music always on the radar? Was it always part of the plan? Or was it just something that you wanted to do and eventually you just thought, you know?
Yeah, I think it was more so the second. It's like, it was never really like, okay, I'm gonna do this, that, and then. But I was like, kind of like, I've made some stuff before and whatever. But then during lockdown, it was one of the only things for me to do outside of training in my house. It was like, oh, you know what? All right, I'll go to the studio today. Then I do a little something, and then, you know, I started getting good feedback from actual rappers who do it for, you know, a living and stuff. So I just thought, you know what, fine, I'll just make a couple more. And then it's sort of like a hobby, because I don't really have that many hobbies, if I'm honest. Like, I play PlayStation and
guess you can't really, right, as a pro fighter.
Exactly. So it's like, most hobbies are quite taxing. No, I don't know about taxing, and I'm not a good artist, or as in painting or anything like that. So I think it's a nice way to just go out and just chat some stuff on. Yeah, you know what I mean,
rub off on anyone in the gym.
I think that there might be a Josh
Josh Pritchard
verse coming soon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we look forward to that one. I think that'll be pretty interesting. One of the things I'm keen to speak to you about is when you've spoken in the past about making big money or making good money and making a good career out of yourself, you've not spoken about buying Lamborghinis and buying this and buying that. You've spoken about getting a new kitchen for your mum and buying your mum a house, which is really refreshing to hear, and you know, it's great to hear. Explain to me the influence of your parents on your boxing career.
My boxing, I mean, obviously they're proud and stuff, but ultimately, like, boxing is something that I kind of just got into myself. And obviously, you know, my mum's helpful in the way of like nutrition. Like, for example, like, so she sends me some food on the weekends, and she's careful not to put too much oil or to change it to more to vegan basically and stuff like that. So that's good. And just obviously, my dad's trying to do certain stuff in Nigeria back home, and just I guess they've had a good influence, and just in terms of just winning mentality and stuff like that, and just, you know what, if you're gonna do it properly and whatever else. So they've been good.
Is fighting in Nigeria on the bucket list?
I would like that. At least just once. Do you get where I'm coming from? But I'd really like it to be like a crossover. I don't know if it's possible, but like a boxing UFC one. Because I'm a fan of, like, obviously Anthony Joshua.
Ngannou.
Pardon?
Ngannou. Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, Francis Ngannou. Then you've got, you know, Adesanya. You've got the other one of my favourite, but it's just skipped my head. Missed my head. He had a fight not too long ago.
Kamaru Usman.
That's the one.
Yeah, I'm a proper UFC
casual. But as in, so those guys I look up to, like, in terms of, like, they're at the top of, you know, they're world champions or getting close to as fighters. So it'd be nice to add myself to that list, you know what I'm saying? So when they do pictures of, like, Nigerian world champions, I get to, you know, I might even create one myself and just pretend like someone else made it. Oh, man, look at this shit, like, do you know what I mean? But it's lit.
Any conversations with AJ about Nigeria one day?
Yeah, we've had little chats, but obviously at the moment it's just chats. I think I went into, anyway, let me not say too much, but anything's possible. Anything's possible.
You can't say I better not say too much.
Yeah, anything's possible. Yeah, no, I can't. Anything's possible.
Okay, before I let you go, just to touch upon again, Anthony Joshua and 258 Management. Shout out 258 Management, Will Harvey and the gang. Always very helpful when it comes to all things 258. Do you ever wonder where your life could have been if you'd have never joined AJ or never joined 258, or do you not think about stuff like that? You don't. To be fair, don't really strike me as the type of person who does.
No, not really. No, I mean, obviously, I believe I was still going to be, you know, good regardless. But in terms of if I didn't start boxing, because ultimately I wouldn't have, you know, pushed the same way probably without the help of AJ and stuff like that, with just little bits of guidance here and there. So it's hard to say, do you get where I'm coming from? But ultimately, do you know what I mean? I'm just happy and blessed to be in the position I'm in now.
And what's the future for 258 or Lawrence Okolie within 258? What's the plan? Because you've got your boxing career now, your rap career. Anything else in the pipeline?
There's a few bits and bobs that are actually going to be coming out. You know, so most important thing is win this fight and then just enjoy the Okolie show. That's going to be it's going to be roaring.
Okay, right. Before I let you go, the soon-to-be WBO cruiserweight champion. How does the fight end? We've not spoke about Glowacki. I mean, obviously, kind of know by this point, you know, what a grizzled veteran he is. He's been in with a lot of great fighters. Stopped Marco Huck, winning with Alexander Usyk. How does Lawrence Okolie deal with Krzyzstof Glowacki?
I think it's going to be interesting. It could either be really one-sided in my favour, or it could end up being like a tough fight for, you know, 6-7 rounds. And then I think my youth and ruggedness is going to out-rugged his ruggedness, and I'll get the. I personally believe I'll stop him in this fight, and if not, then I'll just, you know, I'll be shocked. Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna win by stoppage.
I've sort of asked you this question in the past, so I'm quite sure I know the answer. Not this question, but I've asked you a similar question in the past. If it means you have to hold him and grab him and do whatever for the last 5 rounds of that fight, any problem with that if you take home the belt?
No, and I don't think anyone watching should have a problem with that, because then Britain will have a world champion and I can make it up to everyone with another fight later on. Do you know what I mean? But winning this fight and going down in history as a world champion is the only thing that matters.
And then all of the belts at cruiserweight.
That's the one.
Okay. Well, Lawrence Okolie, The Source, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for stopping by today and joining the Boxing Social podcast. Wish you all the best. Hopefully everything's all good between now and March the 20th. And we can welcome a new world champion to British boxing.